Shit, damn.
We got the crazies, just give the word. The God's coming, we make them purge. God's coming, we make them purge. The God's coming, we make them purge. They say my touch is like some fine wine, going down the back smooth like a decline. I told you wasn't me, you just told me put more effort. You told me change my style and just keep up with the message. It's like every day I take my last breath, trying to breathe, wanna sneeze through my past steps. Do it how you want, do it how you want, not a problem when you calculating numbers. Let me catch a vibe with my mental. It's simple. Listen, this is how it's going down. Let me see you smile with them dimples. It's simple. Listen, I love it when you come around, baby. Baby girl, so is the dimple. It's tough. Listen, it's tougher than it really sounds. The evening come up short from this mission. It's forbidden here. Listen, we gon' be together now. Yeah, searching for class, I'm in my own now. Teacher take them to school, I teach the whole town. I'm expanding your mind, this is a new sound.
What up, Ty? What up, Joy? What's going on? My bad, y'all. I'm playing no song. I'm playing no song on this page. I got I be watching Huggy fucking sent the this dude he put on his community post, and since it was like 2 weeks ago, I've been watching this dude ever since. Gematria Effect. He broke down some Tupac shit. That shit was real interesting.
Get it?
Oh yeah, that.
No thank yous for congratulations. The streets was my school, this the graduation. I'm the shit like I'm school, you niggas constipation. I be proper with performing, it's the preparation. I done ran out of time, but I still had my patience. Gotta know where you going to reach your destination. My nigga always know that, but you could get the picture, it ain't always Kodak. I bet y'all don't know that. Kids killing kids and they blame it on Kodak. And you can change your time, but you still can't go back. You still better know it, but we still getting closer. I can see it, we so focused. Negativity cannot hurt me, positive it will approach me. How you make me feel so worthless when you know that you're so worth it. What's the purpose? They probably just do it on purpose, and that's for certain. Spitballs, delivery service, nigga. Listen, my whole life is set for me to make a difference. They give lyrics to your mind to help you uplift it. Gain knowledge firsthand from the seeds of life, illuminated by the light of
What up, Nanya?
right. I'm done digging dirt up from my old roots. I got some seeds for some trees, I'm planting new fruits. And the nectar sweet from the fruit juice. All natural, the type to make your poop loose. Gotta make a way for you to have a vision. If you worry about the next, how you gonna make decisions? And life goes on, every day is spinning. Expect the law same way, you accept the winnings. And Pops gave me a start, but he left beginnings. So every life I made, I see to the finish. And truth hurts, so the lies start to diminish. And life is toxic, here's the bars to replenish, nigga.
What up, True? What up, YJ? Hey, YJ, I'm gonna holler at you today, bro. I'm gonna call you today, bro. I need to holler at you. Yeah. All right. What's good, y'all? Got 4 people, 5 people up in here, right? So whoever catch the replay, y'all catch the replay. So anyway, Huggy, this gematria effect channel. This dude be breaking down numbers and coding them into words. Basically, that's what gematria is. I watch a lot of Bro Sanchez, so he covers this, but not like this dude. This dude covers it. Anyway, I didn't get to listen to this particular broadcast yet, so I just said fuck it. While I'm sitting here, I'm gonna listen to it with my people. I was on the panel with Boss last night, and we kind of got into a discussion, and religion kind of took over. But me and him always talk about religion. We always have like um, religious discussions and shit. And he, we respect each other's take because he still believes. I'm a non-believer. I'm a non-believer of religion, and I'm a non-believer of there's like one God in the air. I just believe in higher powers, and I believe the gods are walking on earth today, and that's the true men. That's what I believe. Everybody entitled to their own belief. I don't really, I grew up a Christian, so to come out of that with my own decision because I was basically made. What up, foot soldier? How you be, back? I was basically made to go to church, so I was forced into a religion, and I I kind of rebelled on it after I figured out what the truth was in my own heart. So I could break down the Bible in the first 2 or 3 chapters, and it'll blow your mind because some people just don't think like that. So I'm gonna share this with y'all because I know he gonna get into some deep shit. But for people who know me, I do not believe in the Bible at all. Like I believe that's a man-written book. I don't believe no spirits got into a man and told him to write these stories. I just believe it's a book of manipulation. I think it's the greatest deception. And so I don't want to bore y'all too much. I get to talking and shit. I'm gonna listen. I already put his uh, link in my description. So if you go down, you can just step up to his title. The dude be breaking down some shit, and sometimes it's like on point. So I'm gonna just stay there and listen, smoke a little something. I'm gonna push mute over this in a minute. I'm gonna see if y'all can still hear. If y'all can still hear, just put a 1 in the chat. Hey YJ, if you can still hear, put a 1 in the chat, bro. I'm pushing mute now.
All right, we're back, Truth Seeker. It is Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. We're going to have a guest here in just a few moments. 7 Urban Magazine did an interview with her a couple years ago. And last week, I wasn't too nice to her in the chat, and I told her to have a nice life. But then she went out and she got my attention, and I thought I'd have her be on to share her side of the Jesus story because I've been beaten up on Jesus lately, and I thought it'd be good to have somebody on from the other side. And I also want to ask them a few questions about their beliefs, because their belief is that the only truth that matters is the belief in Jesus. And I know a lot of people have that belief. And, from my worldview, that's a big part of the problem and why we are where we are today. But we're going to hear the other side of the equation. And before we get to that, I just want to let everybody know that one of the big headlines this evening is the FDA has now okayed the third Pfizer booster, not just for 65-year-olds, which they just did 2 days ago, on about the 18-month mark since the pandemic declared, just reminding of Event 201, the coronavirus outbreak simulation, where after 18 months, 65 million have died. That 65 number we talked a lot about on the gematria effect. And also, breaking headline just as we go live, the father of Mario Van Peebles, Melvin Van Peebles, has reportedly passed away at age 89. He turned 89 August 21st. Reportedly dead yesterday, September 21st. And, the day he died, it's interesting, September 21st, because it's the day leaving 101 days left in the year. And his surname, Van Peebles, equals 101, right? So he dies on the day leaving 101 days left in the year. And, usually in these show business related deaths, there's a familiar pattern, such as the number 86. 86 means to get rid of. This death came exactly 8 months and 68 days after his son's birthday, and his son happens to be 64 right now, which is a significant number for multiple reasons. Consider things like civil rights equals 64, and there was the Civil Rights Act of 64. Barack Hussein Obama equals 64. He became the 44th president 44 years after the Civil Rights Act, running on hope, which equals 44 when you run the alphabetic order forward, 64 when you run it in reverse. Kind of like the word kill equals 44 and 64. We see that number around death a lot. So Mario Van Peebles, the son, turned 64. Dad's dead 8 months and 6 days later. And adding insult to injury, Mario Van Peebles in gematria equals 86. Like human sacrifice and blood sacrifice. And if I were him, I'd be real safe the year he turns 67. If you're looking at the screen, you can see why. But again, it seems that the world of celebrity, they must be aware of this, because I feel like there'd be more people speaking out if they knew something, They'd be sharing this work, knowing that they're on the chopping block. So, with regards to him dying at age 89, remember, that's the 11th Fibonacci number. Black equals 11. Headlines, Hollywood, Reporter. Melvin Van Peebles, godfather of black cinema, dies at 89. Again, 89, the 11th Fibonacci, black 11. In that same cipher, Jesus equals 11. And of course, the gospel is 89 chapters long. The story of Jesus, the 11th Fibonacci number. They say the Fibonacci numbers are the numbers of God because they're found in mathematical patterns all throughout the world, from the human anatomy to the seashell. And remember, the word religion equals 89 as well. Jesus comes from the religion Christianity, where the story's 89 chapters. And the only physical description in the Bible should lead you to think that he has darker skin. And I figured tonight's thumbnail was appropriate for the topic, one to get people thinking. And there's a lot more to talk about. If you're here to hear me talk about Gabby Petito, I'll tell you what, when you're done with the show tonight, when you get a moment, just check out my YouTube channel. Showed what the whole thing is with Gabby Petito, a clever name for a psyop, small talk, right? Because they know it's a nation of people who like small talk about what's on the TV. Gabby to talk, Petito small. The story of missing small talk found in the 44th state. And then at the same time, they bring up an old story of a missing blonde who was found dead from the 90s, Kristen Smart, at the time of a missing blonde in Utah, not to be confused with Elizabeth Smart, that story out of Utah. But if you missed the video I did on Kristen Smart and where she fits in with the Gabby Petito story and why they're bringing that up 25 years later at this time, again, it's a very clear pattern, and it shows that something beyond just the random story that the news media has picked up on in a big way is what's going on with this latest psyop. And again, what I've been trying to educate people about for the last 8 years is that If you're watching news, if you're watching the television, what you're watching is programming, stuff that's meant to control your mind, coming from the authorities who've been trying to steer you from the cradle, and they'll continue to try to steer you until you reach the grave. And they do it again with religion, school, news, government, and here to stand up for her religious beliefs is Seven Urban Magazine. You can check out her YouTube channel. She's very well spoken, and I do got to say this video response she made to me. You know, I like her whole demeanor, and I just want to ask her a couple questions about the video she made, and I'll let her introduce herself and speak her piece. But then I'll have some questions because she says that the reason she knows Jesus is the only truth is because she has seen Jesus with her own eyes, as well as the angel Gabriel. And without further ado, I'm going to bring her on right now. So I appreciate you hanging on hold, and I appreciate that you took the time to respond. And the floor is yours.
Anybody in the chat ever seen Jesus before?
I'm Seven from Seven Urban Magazine. Thank you, Zachary, for having me on tonight's show. I appreciate it. And I always look for an opportunity to talk about my faith because it's very exciting to me. So how do you want me to start?
Well, let's just get right to it. I mean, Jesus is the only truth is the statement you made in the comments last week. You made it again in your video. Why?
Well, I think it's really important to say, and I guess I can blame it on Jesus, because Jesus gave, his followers very specific instructions according to the Bible. People who believe in Jesus totally believe the Bible. So we don't believe it in part, we believe it in whole. So when Jesus says that he is the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes into the Father except through him, we totally believe it. So that's kind of where people, there is no,
He said when we totally believe it.
For believers, there is no middle ground. It's either all the way or nothing at all. So as a follower of Jesus, you believe the words that he spoke. You believe them to be power, and you believe them to be righteousness. And so you just, as a believer, you're just repeating what Jesus already said when he was here on the earth. So that's pretty much what it is. And that's why I believe it.
Okay. And when I just got to ask, when did you first learn about Jesus? How old were you?
The first time I actually learned about Jesus, probably, I want to say I was probably, I had to be before I was 3 or 4 years old.
I'd say about the same thing. That's when I first start remembering. Yeah. Because that's where our brains were.
But I did know that God, like before somebody actually told me about Jesus, and before I actually start being able to read my first little Bible, I remember my first Bible that I was given. I already have been seeing things in the spirit. So I could already see, like, I remember seeing, like, angels, and I remember seeing evil spirits when I was younger. And I remember talking to spirits and having dreams. This was all before I actually even knew what religion was. And unfortunately, the way that I was introduced to religion, I really could not see God anywhere. I didn't even understand what people were doing. I started going to a Lutheran church. Now, even though my parents, I would say that I was really brought up in religion, as opposed to relationship. I couldn't tell you what was going on for the first probably 15 years of my experience with religion, aka church. I just wasn't getting anything. Nothing was going on. I mean, I was just like, wow, is this God, or where is God? I mean, everybody's like, these are like the brokest of broke of people. Everybody's stressed out. Nobody's having any real breakthrough. And I'm like, this couldn't be God. This couldn't be the God there has to be something greater than this. This couldn't be real. Everybody that I knew was living a defeated life. Everybody that I knew was depressed. Everybody that I knew was still like heavy in addictions. Everything that God said don't do, everybody was doing in church.
That sound like life right
I
now.
was so confused. And I was like, hey, so I kind of started doing what everybody was doing because it seemed like, well, obviously God lets everything go. He lets everything pass. There's no standard. I mean, and I'm telling you this as a pastor's child. This is even, I mean, I can say this now because my father, you know, we've talked about this and we've discussed this, and I've even been very, very open with my father and told him, hey, I'm really confused about this guy Jesus because you guys act like you don't know him. I don't know if I want to know him based on what I'm looking at, you know. And I'm serious. So I wasn't really having any real spiritual connection to church. So, I mean, and a lot of things were happening in my life that just didn't make any sense it didn't make any sense to this God of the Bible that's supposed to be so great. It just seems like nobody knows him. So I started inquiring on my own, and I start really, 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 really searching for him. So that journey began, and I prayed one day, and I asked God. I was so serious. I was about 21 years old, and I was so serious with him. And I just came to him and I said, Lord, if you're real, I need to know it because I cannot tell. And everybody around me can't point me to you. Nobody can point me to you. So I need to know you for myself. And that's when the journey began. And I mean, I've just been having all kinds of spiritual things that I can understand straight from the Creator since that day. And my life has just never been the same. So it's just, for me, it's just been a real spiritual experience with Jesus. It's not anything that anybody else can tell me about. It's something very personal for me. And, you know, a lot of people that go to church don't particularly care for me because they are so religious, and I have a real relationship, and I don't. Religion and relationship are completely two different things. And I know that a lot of people don't really know the man Jesus because I can tell because they're religious. So
Okay.
that's just been my experience.
You said in the video you made for me that you've seen Jesus with your own eyes. Can you tell me more
Yes.
about that and how long ago that was and how many times? And
Well, I've seen Jesus on multiple occasions, but I guess the impressive occasion that he, came to me was back in 2010. During that time in my life, I was just praying a lot, but I wasn't really, I still was very immature in my faith, and I didn't know exactly what I was supposed to be doing in life. And I had already founded 7 Urban Magazine, and I had begun doing, celebrity interviews, and I just wasn't impressed with celebrities because when I met celebrities would look at me like I had the answer to the way out. Like they wanted to get out of what they were doing, and it was just like, I felt like there had to be something. I can't just be meeting these people and, there has to be something that I'm here for. Like, why am I on this earth? So one day, I'm from Tacoma, Washington, grew up in Portland, Oregon. So everybody knows that, there's a lot of green stuff over there that we like. So back then I was, I used to smoke a lot of marijuana. And one particular morning I was getting up, about to get ready for work, and I was about to do my normal, roll something up and get ready for work like I normally do. And I could hear an audible voice say, "Have you even prayed today?" And so I felt instantly convicted, and I said, "No, I haven't prayed." And so I put my lighter down, and, got back to the basics, and I began praying. And as soon as I bowed my head to pray, I turned my bathroom window was open, and I looked out the window, and it was foggy that morning, and it was really cloudy outside. And I looked out the window without anybody saying anything. I just turned and looked, and I saw an angel in the clouds with a trumpet. and the trumpet blew 3 times, like, you know, like on Mr. Rogers when the king used to come out and they go dun 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 dun.
Right.
That's what the angel did. It was like dun 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 dun. So after the 3rd blast, the angel said, "Jesus is coming! Jesus is coming! Jesus is coming!" Like a huge announcement, and like within before I could even blink my eyes, Jesus was standing in front of me. I was terrified. Okay, I took off running and I went into my bedroom. And before I could even get in my bedroom, he was there.
I gotta pause that real fast because I need to ask a question to the chat. Did anybody get the weed she was smoking? Did she say the name or anything? I just need to know for future references. I mean, if anybody heard, just put the name in the chat because I don't want to rewind. I want to keep playing, keep this thing going. But if she said the name of that weed, please let me. It's like the Jesus theme weed. Like, I wonder if they got that grain. I'm looking at it.
And I'm like, I'm terrified. Oh my God, Jesus. And he's holy. Okay, he's Jesus. I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. I am not high. Oh my God. So, mind you, when I sat down to actually have this, before I prayed, it was 7 o'clock a.m., like right on the dot. So, when I ran into the room and Jesus beat me there, I was terrified and I realized he's not going anywhere. Oh my God. So I reached for my phone and I look at the phone, it's 7 a.m. still. So I pick up the phone and call my best friend Monique, because Monique is the only person who has a faith like mine that would believe that I'm actually looking at Jesus. So I called Monique, and Monique was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and usually around 7 a.m. she wouldn't be up, but Monique answered on the first ring. And I said, Monique, Jesus is here. And she's like, oh my God. She's so excited. She's like, what does he look like? And this is the first time that I actually looked up to see who this Jesus is, because I knew it was him. And so I kind of peeked, because I was laying on the floor at that point, because Jesus brought so much light with him that it looked like the sunshine was in my room. And I was terrified. I was just in there about to smoke a blunt. So here we are with Jesus, okay, and I'm terrified. So I'm like, okay, so I look up, and he has on this beautiful white robe, and it's so white, it's so pure. And I can't really make out the features of his face because he's so holy, and there's so much light coming from him. So I look up at his crown, and I just fell out on the floor. And I'm crying. I'm crying so hard because I'm like, oh my God, there's so much power in his crown. So I'm like, Monique, I was like, his crown, it has so much power. I was like, oh my God, I can't even look at it because it's so bright. So she's still asking me questions. I can't even make out what she's asking me because I'm just stunned that Jesus is still here and I'm still looking at him and I can't take it. So I look up again and I say, oh my God, he has 7 stars in his hand. And I look up at the stars, and they're the most beautiful gold that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there's no gold on earth. Jesus brought fire with him, okay? He brought fire. There's nothing on earth that we've seen that can match heaven. That much I do know. So the stars. So I'm looking up at the 7 stars in his hand, and I somehow knew that I didn't know what was going on, but those stars, the power in the stars knocked me out, and I fell out again, and I'm just crying, I'm like, Jesus, I can't take this, is too much. I don't even know why you're here. I don't even know what's going on. So I don't even know how long Jesus stayed, actually, because I was laying on the floor crying for so long, and I don't know how me and my best friend got off the phone, but eventually he left, and I was done. I couldn't even believe, my whole day was just all messed up because I was just like, I cannot believe Jesus just left. And then on top of that, when he left, everywhere in my apartment, I could see like these beautiful jewels, like that he had left, like these little like tidbits of like, there was like amethyst and there was like emerald and jasper, all these things I've never seen before. And then it was like I could see this in my, I don't know, because these things weren't left tangibly in my apartment. So it wasn't like I could feel these things. And then I saw water, and the water was the purest water that I'd ever seen in my life. And I just, that was just the first time that I had seen Jesus like at that. But that wasn't the first time
Salute,
that
Whoopi.
I had witnessed his
Thanks for coming
presence,
through.
because about probably 4 years earlier, maybe 5 years earlier, when I first founded Seven Urban Magazine, I was sitting at my desk in my apartment, and I was praying, and all of a sudden, I could just feel myself lifting out of my body very, 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 very fast. And I knew that I was going through earth and heaven. And I was moving so fast, and I was so scared. And I was in this tunnel, and I was moving at this pace, faster than the speed of light. And I knew that, and all I could hear was the Bible. I recognized it as the Bible. I recognized it as God's voice, and I recognized it as God's word instantly. And I was terrified. And I tell you, no, I told God, no, I don't want to do this. I was terrified, and I wanted down. And he allowed me to exercise my own free will and come back. And I came back sitting at my desk, and I felt like I had just traveled through a time bomb or something, time zone or something. I just felt like so tired. And so I went and laid down on the floor in front of my desk. And as I was laying there, like trying to take a nap, I opened my eyes, and I could see the bottom of the hem of a garment, but I didn't see Jesus in totality, but I seen the hem of his garment and his feet, and he was walking around me, praying for me, like lifting me up. And I remember that because I was so tired and so exhausted, and God was trying to show me something in heaven, and I couldn't. My body couldn't take it. I was too afraid, and so I missed that experience of heaven that time because I was just too scared, But I've seen other things. I've seen Gabriel the angel several times. Gabriel the angel used to live at my house at the door. There was a time of my life where I was facing a lot of fear, and I used to be kind of scared to live alone. And the Lord showed me Gabriel, and I was able to see Gabriel. Gabriel used to be in my house like a watchdog every day, just to let me know. And even in different places, Gabriel came with me to the hospital one time when I was in the hospital. So after one time, Gabriel had been for a while. I was so used to seeing Gabriel that after I didn't see him anymore, I was like, where'd Gabriel go? That's how often, that's my experience with Gabriel. And
so I got to ask you this then. So these stories are very personal to you, and because of that, you say it's the only truth, which I don't exactly understand, because does that mean nothing else in the world is true?
It's just it's like I can't really go with anything else because I've seen Jesus, and it's like when I've seen Jesus, I've seen him so many times. Like when my daughter passed away, Jesus.
I'm pausing there for a second, right? So, yeah, I laughed at some of the shit she was saying, but that's just because I'm childish, like Pam says sometimes. So right now, this is like this her what her argument is right now, and what she's fitting to say is to me the division in religion. Why is religion so divided? My question. And then we're only subject to what we're taught from as kids. So if your mom was a Christian, naturally you're gonna be. If she was Jehovah's Witness, naturally you're gonna be. Or that's how she's gonna raise you. And then it switch from there when you get to an age where you can you know understand your own way. But I think it's all planned because let's say my mother era, from my grandmother to my mother era, didn't have like the internet, and they basically believed it because it was branded into them, right? So we in this era we got the internet. We can question certain things that we see, I think they knew we was gonna rebel on this at this time, and it's just not how it's written in Revelations. I think Revelations is more like a blueprint instead of a, scripture in the Bible or the last scripture. It's more like a blueprint on the end days of the change, not the end days of the end of the world. It's like the earth's not gonna fucking blow up and all that shit. So anyway, let's keep on listening. Oh, that's just my belief. I don't believe that Jesus is gonna come back out of the sky and save us, and I just don't believe that he would have done it already. It's real fucked up out here.
When my daughter passed away, Jesus was standing at the end of my bed and holding her, which let me know that I knew she was going to pass away. So there's just, I think Jesus is personal to anybody because he loves everybody. He really, really does. And what I've learned from Jesus is that the world, what we see in church and what we see by religion, that's not him. He said that's not him. He said that a lot of people are misrepresenting his name. He said that a lot of people are going by his name and that he's not there and that he's not with them.
Salute, Ty.
Angels get really, really sad when people misrepresent God and Jesus. And so I feel so connected to heaven that I really don't believe, I know not to believe anything else because I've seen demons and I know the demons are real. And I know that they are rebellious. I know that I've seen demons in people, and I've seen how demons torment people. And I hate Satan, and I hate everything about him. And so when I see things, when I look at things in totality, I see a spiritual problem versus like a people problem, because I know how Satan torments people and he terrorizes people, and I've seen him in the spirit, and he's a pig. I hate him, and he's so disgusting.
Real quick, Seven, we're going to commercial. I'll bring you back right after the break. Sit tight.
Okay.
Be right back, everybody.
I don't know if I want to do a commercial.
Discover the extraordinary powers of intuitive healing with pain transmutation.
Perfectly. The T hosting a radio program that's dedicated.
Break, trying to get sweet lady's dinner ready when she comes home. She's working hard, 10-hour days with the internship, and she's got an hour commute about both ways, so it's a long day for her. So I always try to have the meal ready right when she gets home, so she's happy. And if I don't do a good job, she's sure to let me know about it. But it's trickier on TFR nights because got to work in the radio show. So anyhow, we got Seven with us, and she's sharing her story of why Jesus is the only truth. She's one of many people in the community compelled to, stay on my page and follow the work. But usually when they comment, it's just something like Jesus is the only truth. And to me, it's kind of a depressing statement because even if Jesus is the truth, which I'm not convinced of, again, you have to believe the word with lie in the middle. And I mean, I'm not going to say that she's lying. It's her story. I mean, it could be a true story, but I have to believe her for that to become my truth. And that's not the way I've ever operated. I've learned that I can't trust most people around me, including, my own mother. My own mother, she used to lie to me as a motivator. It was like white lies to get me to do the right thing, but that wasn't right in the end. And so, I learned to question everything from a young age, including religion and the story of Jesus, which didn't make too much sense to me as I got older. And it still doesn't. And, I'm going to let Seven wrap up her thoughts here. But in her story of Jesus, it didn't sound like Jesus ever communicated that his name was Jesus. She was asking God to show her if God's the truth. And then a man with all this light, whose face she couldn't even see, appeared and hung out around her apartment so she didn't have to smoke her blunt. And that's why Jesus is the only truth. And I'm just like, okay, so that's a story. And has Jesus showed up in the time of the pandemic? Is Jesus doing anything right now to help stop? I mean, is Jesus like coming and shining the light on CNN and showing how they're doing the Mark of the Beast tribute in a story about the future vaccinated child populace? If you missed my coverage of that on what CNN did the other night, a picture of a child with their right hand up on their forehead and laser gun to read their temperature pointed right at their forehead. If you've read the Bible, you get the mark on your right hand or the forehead. If you missed my video on that CNN news story the other day and what's all being, projected in that, again, the mark of the beast is taught about in Revelation, the book about the return of Jesus, which is based on a vision of a supposed prophet. But again, to believe in these stories, you got to do just that. You got to believe. You got to trust in the authority. And Seven, as I put you back on, what I'm wondering is, do you disagree when I say that the majority of the information that's pushed out there to the people of this world that comes from the authorities, it's not good. It's not good for us. It's a false history. It's a false understanding of your government. It's a lot of false understandings to kind of keep you in a box so that you are easily controlled and manipulated by the authorities. I mean, that's always been my worldview from a young age, that we're being manipulated by religion and government and school. We're being turned into something that they want us to be like. To me, the Christianity turn the other cheek is one of the ideal mindsets to have in this slave populace. A slave populace that doesn't really think, but just believes and follows authority. And these are all the values that come from the Bible. Neo the hacker out there saying, read Ephesians 6:5 about, slaves obey your masters. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible like that. It's just so. Seven, in all the let's say we got 5 more minutes here. In all of your visits with Jesus, has he made it clear that he really was Jesus, and did he give you anything profound that's helpful in this world? And why isn't he helping fight against the tyranny in this world right now and the evil?
Well, Jesus already did all in my opinion, as far as a Christian would believe, anybody who believes Jesus believes that the work has already been done at the cross. So a lot of, I think, and this is just to God's credit, I'm going to say this, that his Bible is perfect. Like, if people, I don't really look, I know one thing, I know we're battling a war against good and evil. I know that you have God, and I know that you have the devil. I know that the devil is the counterfeit of God. I know that God is the creator, and the devil is the one that tries to mimic him. So I'm quite aware of his deception and his tactics and all the ways that he moves through.
That's, to me, I guess in my human being thinking, I'm not strong enough to think as, a higher being, but that makes no fucking sense. Like, it's good versus evil, but I created the evil. I created the evil, so all I gotta do is boom, nigga, you doing too much. Like, why hasn't God did that to this nigga yet? Like, what is he waiting for? I'm not questioning him. I'm just questioning the fact that what we see as people today, all we see is death, murder, homicides, and fucking fucked up shit. You know what I mean? Like, not just poverty, just shit around the world is fucked up. So he can't, like, why haven't he zapped this nigga yet? I mean, just my opinion when I think about this shit. Let's go.
People, because like God works through people, the devil works through people. So that's exactly how I see, the two kingdoms. And a lot of people go into the Bible and they talk specifically about certain things. Well, they don't believe the Bible, so they're always looking at it from a critical perspective. If you live the Bible, if you believe it, of course. I don't think that there is enough.
So, okay, if you live the Bible, so if you live the Bible, so what's that look like, living the Bible?
Believing it. I mean, living the Bible for me is to believe that everything that God says is, there's more. Actually, I know that there's more, and I've seen more. And, but this Bible is just saying that I take this at face value. I believe that it's true. I believe that these are true accounts of people that know the Father, and that's what I choose to believe. And then if you've ever been to heaven, you realize that everything in heaven, everybody in heaven, this is exactly what this is what they speak. God's word, he watches over the world to see where his word needs to be performed. That's what angels do. Angels are messengers of God. They perform God's word. So if you understand like the kingdom of heaven, you'll understand why God's law and the way that he is, it makes sense. It's perfect to him. But if you don't know him, it's going to be weird. It's going to.
How do you understand somewhere you never been? How do you understand something that you got to die to get to? That shit makes no sense. That shit just makes no sense. We can carry on.
To be criticized. It's going to be, because it's almost like you have to figure out if you're going to be on God's side or if you're going to be on Satan's side. If you're on Satan's side, I mean, there's so many things.
Satan is a God's creation. You see this? You see the whole deception in this? And somebody was smart enough to write this book knowing that we was going to have all this shit to talk about. Like, can you think about the mind of the person who put this book together? To understand that people are going to resent this sooner or later? Like, people have to, like, this shit. You know what I mean? But if you beat it into people, you know, if you got a bunch of people sitting in front of you that you control and you beat it into them, and then they have kids, and they indoctrinate it into their kids, and then the shit trickles down, sooner or later you're going to get some kids and be like, man, fuck this. This shit sounds weird. But it does. Let's continue.
That classify as Satan, like how he is, like his characteristic, his personality. I mean, his blueprint is all over the earth. You know, his thumbprint is all over the earth. You know, you don't have to be a part of the society of Jesus to be a, evil person. You don't have to be a part of the Catholic Church or a part of the, the Illuminati or the Freemasons. That's evil is faithless. It goes with anybody, whoever wants to, adhere to evil.
Okay, take out all the Bibles. Do we still know about Jesus? Can anybody raise their hand and answer the question? If you take out all the Bibles today, will we still know about Jesus? Because we could take two objects and put them together and say, I got one of this and one of this. I got two of them. I'm just saying. Let's carry on.
Evil is like, you can't, it's weird. Everybody, evil gets to be, run rampant upon the earth. And nobody ever says a word about the devil. But the minute that the name of Jesus and God gets mentioned, everybody has something to say and it becomes blasphemous. And my question is, why does the devil get all the stage time and God get no credit for being the creator and giving us all this good stuff in this Bible? Because there's so much good stuff in this Bible. Nobody ever criticized Proverbs. Nobody ever criticizes Psalms. Nobody ever.
And the question would be, you should have for God is, why did you create this nigga? Why did you create this man? That would be my question to God today.
Ever criticizes, anything but the Gospels, and anytime God gives us something as a directive. That's the only time people want to get critical of God. Never mind the history of the world and the story of, Babel, the Tower of Babel, and how disobedient mankind is and how evil mankind is. We just never consider that. But God gets all, the blame. And Jesus. And what's wrong with Jesus? What's wrong with him? There's nothing wrong with Jesus. He came to save the world. Why would that be a bad idea? Why would that be horrible? Why would that be horrible?
Seven, I got to be honest. I mean, I'm letting you talk, to be polite, but I haven't heard you say anything that's interesting at all, to be perfectly honest. And again, just I feel like Jesus did everything by just dying on the cross. Well, to me, I feel like that's nothing because the world's all messed up right now. And that's a story from a long time ago that you got to believe in that isn't helping us out for anything. I asked you why Jesus isn't doing, why, if Jesus can appear for you in your apartment and keep you from smoking a blunt, why can't Jesus show up behind Anthony Fauci and say, enough with the tyranny, enough with terrorizing the children of this world? I'm Jesus. I'm the truth. I'm the only truth. I'm Jesus, the only truth. I'm going to shut it down today. Oh, why doesn't that happen?
We are in a fallen world. We are in a fallen world, a fallen evil world.
Do you think Jesus wanted to smoke a blunt?
What'd you say?
Did you think Jesus wanted to smoke a blunt that morning? Is that why you came to hang out?
Hey, yo,
I really
stop
doubt it.
fucking playing.
I just shared
This
that to be
nigga crazy.
transparent because I'm just like anybody else.
Well, I smoke
don't-
blunts. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, why would he show up for you? He can't show up for important things, but he's showing up
Because
for you.
I believe. I pray to him. I love him.
There aren't
He
a bunch of
knows
people in
I
the
love
world
him.
that believe in Jesus that are suffering right now from the agenda.
When you think about it, he might be right, Doug, because she never said she sparked the blood and shit. And if Jesus came through, then maybe he wanted to hit that shit. Why she didn't spark it? Like, hey, I mean, fuck.
Here's the thing.
How many Jesus believers got the vax in the arm, the mark, and Jesus didn't show up right there in the office and say, you know what? You want to stop right now as a Christian. You believe in me. This is wrong. Where's Jesus at?
I believe that. I really think that there's something wrong with people. I really do. I feel
But
like
why isn't Jesus showing up all over the world and in all sorts of hospital offices and stopping the vaccine? Just right there, you know. Jesus come in with a glowing light power, just light up the whole room.
We have free will. We have free will. And people have spiritual discernment. And people have to make their own decisions. And there's information. Everybody has good access to information. People have the same access to information. If they don't want to use the spiritual discernment or intelligence or wisdom or whatever you want to call it, if they don't want to use that to make their decision, that's their decision.
Seven, I appreciate it. And again, I want to compliment Seven because the video she made to me, all you Christians out there that make the videos calling me a shill and all that, you guys are idiots. Seven, even though I don't disagree with her, she handled it the right way. She went and acted like the bigger adult. She gave a nice, calm presentation, made her argument. But again, Seven, I mean, I'm not saying you're lying or you're wrong. It's just none of this is persuasive to me. I work in the world of evidence and facts and things that are tangible, not somebody's vision about, you know, non-tangible, sparkly jewels. It sounds like Jesus was the Vatican, and then all you saw was his feet. That's like the description in the Bible. I mean, to me, this is like, okay, she has these ideas in her head from reading the Bible, and then that's what she sees.
It's not. I'm telling you a real. Okay.
So I don't. No, Seven. I'm not gonna apologize. I don't want to do it like that. Like it was real. It was real to you. So I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying that, you know, in all my life, I was the biggest believer as a child. I was the biggest believer. I prayed so hard every night. There wasn't any days little Zach was getting up and smoking blunts before he was praying. I was praying in the morning. I was praying before I went to bed every night. Pray for everybody. Everybody having problems I was praying for. Man, I didn't see anybody's problems get better. I never saw Jesus. And then by the time I was 12, you know, I was having the same thing as you. I was like, man, all these kids around me acting like they're about Jesus in the church. These kids are wild childs outside of here. I know what they're like. Who are they pretending to be? And plus, nobody could answer my questions in church. And I just realized, see, I've had the same worldview since about the time I was 12, 7. This Jesus thing, I don't know. But what it's doing for the believers, it's not helping out the world. This school thing, this is wasting my time. This is all connected. All these things are stealing my time, telling me what to believe. And I'm not really feeling any of it. And I don't think the world has proven me wrong in the slightest. And see, I feel like I've gotten the same confirmations from God in my beliefs that you feel in yours. And again, that's the thing about beliefs. It's like we want to see the world the way we think it is. But 7, we can do it again. It's just, you know, this is normally Rambo's time slot. We went a little bit extra. But you'll be welcome to come back and share some more. So I'll let you think about it the next time you want to come on. Maybe make a more persuasive argument. Because for right now, I'm going to let you be the representative of Christianity because you have a great personality and demeanor. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, Doug. It's always great talking to you. You guys have a good night.
All right. You take care. Have a good night.
All right. Bye.
All right. Okay. Yeah, you guys can think what you want. And here, at the end of the day, I want to say this too. Like if some
I'm gonna let him chop that up, but I mean, his argument, I would have had the same frustration and got off the line too, simply because you know I could have the same argument with my mom. Like you can't get to a Christian because whatever they read in that book and they read over and over again, they're gonna believe it. So you can't really dissect the mind of a Christian. It's not gonna happen. You can pick their brain and you can say things to them, but you ain't persuading them no type of way. It's gonna take them to see something to change themselves, such as the ones who've already done, like myself. But let's listen to Zach for a minute.
someday we have a community of people that want to work together towards a common purpose, look out for each other, live right by each other. The Christian teaching is to take care of your neighbor. If you're a real Christian in that regard, then I could totally live with you in my community because I'm a Christian in that way. I don't believe in the whole Jesus story, but I do believe you should be good to your neighbors. They're your neighbors, community. You got to have the good vibes there. And so, I mean, if Seven was a good person and a good neighbor, and she was down for the cause, even though she believes different, I wouldn't care about that at the end of the day. Well, no, I guess the one thing I'd be bothered about, though, maybe is like if we're trying to make something happen in the world, and she's like, "Oh, all I want to ever do is just keep praying to Jesus," I'd be like, "Oh, we're not." I guess that's where the difference could be because I'm like, oh, she's never going to help us achieve the goals. We're out here working hard trying to wake up people. She's just at the house praying for Jesus. And somebody might think that, see, that's why religion at the end of the day, man, it's still a problem. But I'm just saying, as long as she'd come out and pound payment with us and be part of the team in the mission and also pray to Jesus, then we'd be all good, I guess. I guess that's what I'd like to see from the Christians. And again, the Christians have the same enemy I do. Pretty much all of humanity has the same enemy I do. That's what you guys need to wake up. Stop trying to make everybody your enemy. So, with that said, before I go to Rambo, I'm going to go to Australia just because it long distance and all that. Australia's first in line tonight. I want to let Australia get in their piece, and then we'll let Rambo take as much time as he needs because it's always brilliant. But let's not keep Australia on hold too long. So, Australia, thanks for calling in. And what do you want to share, friend?
Hey, Doc, how are you, man?
Doing well. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm not sure if you remember me, but I'm actually on the YouTube channel Our Ancient Future.
Yeah, you're the young man who did the work on the eye, right?
Sure. It's actually, I just found out the other day, and actually my 20th birthday, so
happy birthday.
Crazy times.
Happy birthday. And by the way, I love the work the work you did was very good. So are you still at it? When my channel got deleted, I lost your channel, and I don't think I've resubscribed.
Yeah, I'm still at it. I just changed the channel because I got censored a lot and a lot of copyright and strikes. So my new channel is like just my actual name now. So I moved on from like just using a pseudonym. So I think it's better for just connecting with people and stuff like that.
So what's that channel name one more time?
It's Frank, F-I-N-K.
Uh-huh.
And space C-A-R-B-O-N-E, that's my name.
That's your channel name?
Yeah, and has about 600 subscribers right now.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna leave it at that because they might go out of the Christian talk a little bit, but I want to direct you to what the screen says. I mean, just listen. This is a Bible verse, if I'm not mistaken. It says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Fathers, do not aspirate your children. Instead, bring them up in training and instruction of the Lord. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear." Is that us? I don't know what it's talking about. But is that us? Are we the slaves they talked about? Are we supposed to obey the government with fear? It's crazy as shit. Like, this shit's written in the Bible. But anywho, if anybody got any questions, ask me now. Because if not, I'm about to jump off of here. That's the type of shit I'm gonna be doing. I'm not gonna be in the back and forth and be over here like enlightening people on some shit. I mean, in my heart of hearts, I say this shit all the time. Like, we ain't got long, but we got like 3 or 4 years left before the world changes completely. That's what New World's about. It's the change. I don't see no question. All respect right there. Yep, I did an hour. Here we go. Anybody else that want to check it out, go to the replay. You already know I love all y'all motherfuckers.